Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and, without saying a single word, command everyone's attention? Why certain individuals are respected not because they are loud, but because they carry an invisible gravity that makes others instinctively adjust their attitude in their presence? In today's video, we are diving into the mindset of Machiavelli, not to learn how to control others, but to forge ourselves. Clarity, composure, unshakable conviction, and an aura so powerful that no one dares to overlook you. The world out there is full of competition, misunderstanding, pressure, and judgment. If you're not resilient enough, you will be pushed to the sidelines. But if you learn to forge a steel aura, the kind of silence that carries weight, the sharp self-control, the calm in the middle of chaos, you will walk into any situation with the confidence of someone who cannot be moved. Stay until the end, because only when you understand these principles can you truly begin the journey of becoming the strongest version of yourself. Number 1. The foundation of a powerful aura. In every story of power, from ancient thrones to office towers lit through the night, there is always one common beginning: absolute belief. A kind of belief that is not shaken by doubt, not disturbed by gossip, and not broken by temporary failure. It is not loud, boastful confidence, but something quieter, colder, like steel forged in darkness. This is the foundation of every powerful aura. In the dramatic world of Machiavelli, a powerful figure never enters a room as if seeking acknowledgement. Instead, he walks in as if the room has been waiting for him. Certainty radiates from his smallest movements, the steadiness of his eyes, the unhurried steps, the breath measured like the heartbeat of a machine that has calculated every second. But to build such a state, a person must undergo an internal reconstruction. It begins with mastering their own reactions, an art at which the impatient always fail. The world is a stage where most people rush to reveal their emotions, terrified that if they don't, they'll be forgotten. They explain too much, speak too much, spill their feelings too quickly, and in doing so, they strip themselves of their own authority. In contrast, the powerful figure we're describing never grants others the privilege of seeing his true inner world. He stands still, observing, as if scanning every crack on his opponent's armor. His silence is not emptiness. It is a space that others feel compelled to fill with their own worry, assumptions, or even fear. That silence creates distance, and distance creates power. In every interaction, he doesn't react out of impulse, but out of calculation. Every glance is calibrated to be just sharp enough. Every word is like a rare coin, spent so sparingly that people recognize the value of each one. And every silence is an invisible declaration. I am not rushed. I am not shaken. I have nothing to prove. The foundation of a powerful aura does not lie in muscles, status, or threats. It lies in mindset, the belief that you shape the flow rather than being carried by it. It is the energy that makes others, even without knowing why, feel that resisting this person is like resisting something inevitable. And from that foundation, every layer of power begins to form, quiet, precise, and unbreakable. Number 2. The mask of control. If the foundation of power is built from inner certainty, then the first layer of armor the character puts on is the mask of control, a sophisticated construct forged from emotional restraint and deliberate control over how others perceive him. In every tale of a master manipulator or a cold strategist throughout history, there is one constant: they never allow their true emotions to stand under the light. This mask is not born from cheap pretension, but from disciplined inner order. It is the result of countless moments of restraint, standing before chaos, yet refusing to react on instinct. In Machiavelli's world, emotional outbursts are not proof of authenticity. They are openings for others to exploit. Our character understands this. He knows the world judges by appearances far more than by substance. And so he crafts an exterior that cannot be penetrated. His expression rarely shifts, even when others deliberately provoke him. His breathing remains steady, even when the world around him is turbulent. His voice sits at a measured frequency, unhurried, unwavering, as if every word has been weighed long before it reaches his lips. In conversation, he does not dominate through volume. He dominates through composure. The more agitated others become, the quieter he gets. The harder they try to read his thoughts, the more space he leaves between glances. And in that space, they begin to speculate, worry, and construct their own stories. His control creates a fascinating paradox. He doesn't need to display power, yet others feel it more intensely because they cannot decipher him. Humans fear most what they cannot understand. And when they cannot read his face or emotions, they remain in a state of uncertainty. Sometimes he smiles, but that smile never reveals anything clear. It is a smile that unsettles more than it reassures. It forces others to wonder, did he accept my offer, or is he laying a trap? Does he like me, or am I just a pawn on his board? Is he calm because he's confident, or because he knows something I don't? This uncertainty is part of the mask. It forces others to tread carefully around him, to choose their words, to guard their actions. The mask of control is not merely an outer shield. It is the skeleton of his existence. It protects him from psychological attacks while simultaneously keeping others at a respectful distance. When every expression is measured, every sentence calculated, and every reaction controlled, he becomes an enigma. And nothing exerts more influence than an enigma who uses silence as his weapon. This is the essence of the mask of power, a layer of armor invisible to the eye, but one that makes the entire world hesitate before stepping too close. Number 3, the calculus of fear. If the mask of control makes our character unpredictable, then fear is the invisible boundary that keeps others at a distance. But fear in Machiavelli's world is not the roar of a predator, nor is it a crude display of brute force. It is far more delicate. The fear he creates does not come from action, but from the consequences others believe may follow if they step too close, too far, or too wrong. Humans fear consequences more than danger itself. A sharp blade may not stop them, but a punishment too vague to imagine will. Our character understands this. He doesn't need to threaten. He only needs to let the silence between his words linger long enough to let his gaze rest on someone just a moment too long, until they begin to wonder, if I offend him, what will happen to me? That question is where fear is born. He does not strike often. In fact, the most powerful figures in history, and this Machiavellian character included, learn a ruthless truth. Rare punishments are far more frightening than constant ones. When he chooses to punish, he does it with precision, finality, and quietness. No theatrics. No announcements. No need for grand displays. But the consequences are clear enough for others to remember. No one knows if it was coincidence or calculation. No one knows whether he is cold by nature or cold by intent. And that ambiguity alone creates power. The fear he inspires does not come from shouting, but from restraint. People who anger easily are often dismissed. People who get angry only with reason, and do so in absolute silence, make others uneasy. Our character rarely unleashes emotion, because he knows outbursts diminish their impact. Silence multiplies it. In meetings, negotiations, or everyday moments, he does not attack. He simply stands there, almost too calm, making others feel like they themselves are doing something wrong. Truly powerful individuals do not force others to recognize their stature. Their presence alone causes others to adjust. But perhaps the most terrifying thing about him is not what he can do, but that no one knows where his limits lie. Fear does not come from the act itself, but from the uncertainty surrounding it. And in the darkness of uncertainty, people always imagine the worst. This is the art of Machiavellian fear, not spreading violence, but spreading the possibility of violence. Not punishing constantly, but punishing at the right moment. Not making others tremble, but making them reflect on themselves. In this calculation, fear ceases to be a threat. It becomes a tool, one that maintains distance, order, and power orbiting around him like an undeniable center of gravity. Number 4. The art of emotional detachment. On the journey toward power, there is a threshold most people never cross, the threshold of emotion. Emotion gives humans their intensity, but it is also what makes them easiest to wound. And in Machiavelli's world, where every glance, every word, and even every silence can become a weapon, the strong are not those who feel less, but those who never let others know what they feel. Our character is not someone without emotion. On the contrary, he feels deeply. But he separates emotion into 2 layers. The inner layer, where he observes it, and the outer layer, where he chooses what to display. This allows him to control his reactions rather than be controlled by them. In moments when others panic, lash out, or spill insults, he stands like a lake before a storm, the surface unmoved, yet beneath it runs a slow, deep current that no one can measure. That stillness not only unsettles the opponent, it also makes him the only point of calm in the room, the anchor of equilibrium. Because humans expect emotional responses from one another. When they don't get the reaction they anticipate, they're left without anything to hold on to. An outright insult does not provoke his anger. A compliment does not soften him. A promise does not lower his guard. Everything is merely information, nothing more. Within that detachment, he gains an invisible advantage, the ability to observe without dissolving into the moment. Ordinary people, when agitated, lose perspective. They follow fear, anger, or desire. But when emotion rises within him, he sets it on the scales, turning it over like an object foreign to him. He does not deny emotion, he simply refuses to let it lead. There is a classic example: betrayal. For most, betrayal ignites an explosion, rage, pain, desperate retaliation. But to him, betrayal is not a shock. It is merely a variable, but already accounted for. He does not punish immediately, because that is the reflex of the weak. Instead, he observes how the network around him shifts, who sides with whom, who stays silent, who avoids eye contact. In those frozen emotional moments, he sees the whole pattern clearer than anyone else. Emotional detachment does not turn him into stone. It turns him into the only one in the room who can see the entire board, while others fixate on the piece they just lost. And that clarity becomes the foundation of a very specific kind of power. Not the power of a fist clenched tight, but the power of a hand that does not tremble, even in the darkest hour. Number 5. Silence and the power of speech. In shaping a powerful aura, there are 2 tools most people misuse: silence and speech. Ordinary people see them as means of communication. Our Machiavellian character sees them as weapons, one a shield, the other a blade. And he wields both with chilling precision. His silence is not emptiness. It is like the darkness between lightning strikes and a storm, still, yet charged with something beneath. When he is silent, others may not hear his voice, but they hear the echo of their own worries, doubts, secrets they try to hide. Everyone tries to fill silence with words. He does not. And that alone torments them. When someone asks a question, he does not answer immediately. He lets the question hang in the air long enough for the speaker to reconsider what they just said, to rephrase it in their mind, to adjust their tone. His silence forces them to step back, while he remains exactly where he stands. He understands that silence reveals a person's true nature. The impatient expose their weaknesses. The overconfident speak more than necessary. The fearful hide their anxiety behind forced humor. And he simply observes, no judgment, no reaction, just observation. And through that, he gains information without interrogation. Silence lets him see the truth behind every mask. But if silence is his shield, then speech is his sword. He does not use it often, and its rarity makes each word heavy as lead. Others use words to fill space. He uses words to create new space. His sentences are not long or elaborate. He does not explain. He does not justify. He says only what must be said, a final remark, a sudden insight, a sharp conclusion, sometimes just a single word. That restraint makes people believe every syllable hides deeper meaning, even when he says less than they do. In discussions, many try to prove themselves through lengthy arguments. He does the opposite. He ends the argument with one line. And that line, forged from calculated silence, carries 10 times the weight of anyone else's speech. Sometimes he says only, "Are you sure?" Or, "I heard you." Or simply, "Good." These words do not contain explicit commands, but they keep others awake at night, wondering about the implication behind them. The power lies in the space he creates, not in the words themselves. Through the interplay of silence and speech, he builds something many crave but never achieve, a voice that is heard even before it speaks. That is the power of someone who knows when to talk and when to let silence do the work. Number 6. Presence as a weapon. In the world our character walks through, power does not lie only in words, actions, or strategies. There is something sharper, something that exerts influence without ever being spoken. Presence. Not everyone standing in a room creates presence. Most are merely faint silhouettes blending into the crowd. But he, fortified by silence, emotional detachment, and the mask of control, rarely appears. Yet every time he does, it feels like the air pressure in a sealed room shifts. Someone else walks in, the door closes. He walks in, and the entire room seems to pause for a beat. This is not due to his looks or physical size. His presence is built from 3 subtle elements: rhythm, posture, and inner energy. Rhythm is the first thing people notice. While most move with the pace of their anxieties, rushed, frantic, eager to be seen, he moves to his own tempo, slow but decisive. Never hesitant, yet never hurried. That slowness is not laziness. It is the mark of someone unafraid of being left behind, because he knows he's the one setting the pace. And when he slows down, the environment is forced to adjust to him. His posture is also a declaration that needs no words. His shoulders are not tense, his back not rigid, but straight and steady, as if held upright by an invisible axis that keeps him stable amid all turbulence. His hands do not fidget, twist, or make unnecessary motions. Others fidget out of insecurity. He does not. Every gesture is deliberate, and that restraint makes him stand out without trying. But the most important element of his presence is his inner energy, an invisible force everyone senses. It is the energy of someone who does not seek validation. Someone so certain of his place that every gaze directed toward him feels expected. Not because he demands attention, but because others instinctively give it. When he walks in, conversations shrink in volume. Not because he interrupts, but because his stillness draws all movement toward a new center. Some pretend to stay relaxed, yet they subtly adjust their posture. Others keep talking, but their voices soften. The room does not need orders. His presence naturally rearranges its structure. Even when he says nothing, people feel as though he is evaluating them, observing them, or waiting for them to reveal something. His presence becomes a mirror in which others confront themselves. This is the essence of silent power. No need to strike. No need to threaten. Just by being there, he changes the atmosphere, the behavior, and the balance of the room. Number 7. Psychological leverage, the art of understanding to lead. If his presence is the invisible gravity that forces others to adjust themselves, then psychological leverage is the delicate web he quietly weaves to guide the flow around him. In the Machiavellian world we are shaping, power is not built on force, but on understanding. A sharp, cold understanding untouched by emotion, like light cutting through dark waters to reveal what lies at the bottom. He observes people not to judge them, but to decode them. Everyone he meets operates on their own mechanism, a blend of fears, desires, pride, and empty spaces. And he, with calmness ingrained as his nature, listens to every word, watches every micro-movement, every misplaced breath. He knows that people hide what matters most not with silence, but with unnecessary words. When someone tells a story, he listens to what they didn't say. When they smile, he notes the moment their eyes shift away. When they act confident, he watches whether their hand tightens just slightly. Every tiny detail forms a psychological map, a map he never reveals to anyone. And with this understanding, he never needs to push or persuade. He simply touches the right point, and people move themselves into position. He never uses psychological leverage as an attack. It is like an underground current, shapeless yet powerful enough to shape an entire stream. When he wants someone to act, he doesn't command them. He simply creates the conditions that allow them to believe the decision was theirs. Someone who craves approval receives a rare compliment. Someone afraid of losing their position is met with a silence that forces them to reinforce it. Someone curious gets half a story. Someone who desires control is given the illusion that they are steering the situation. Everyone who crosses his path carries a silent key, and he turns the key, never breaks the door. This subtlety makes him someone no one wants to oppose. Not because he is dangerous, but because they never know how much he understands about them. The feeling of being seen, truly seen, especially in the parts one hides, is a primal discomfort. And he, by staying outside emotion, sees more clearly than anyone. What makes his psychological leverage powerful is not what he does, but what he chooses not to do. He never exposes what he knows. He never weaponizes it to humiliate or boast. This restraint is what gives him his edge. Others don't know what he sees. They don't know how far his understanding goes. And this uncertainty makes them more careful, more selective, until they unknowingly follow the rhythm he set. To him, psychological leverage is not manipulation. It is the art of understanding people so deeply that they guide themselves into his orbit, as if it were inevitable. Number 8. The iron boundary. Discipline as a fortress. If psychological leverage is the invisible network our character uses to shape the flow around him, then boundaries are the walls that protect his core from the chaos of human behavior. In the Machiavellian world, strength is defined not only by what one can do, but especially by what one never allows to happen. His boundaries are not bold declarations, nor rules written in words. They exist quietly, sharp as steel, expressed through the way he lives and through his reactions to even the smallest actions of others. He never needs to say, "Do not cross this line." People sense it from his very presence. He never explains why he dislikes something. He never repeats himself twice. To him, repetition is redundancy, and redundancy is a sign of weakness. If someone steps too far, he doesn't confront them. He simply withdraws his presence. And no punishment unsettles a person more than losing his attention. Most people tolerate small offenses, a mild disrespect, a subtle insult, an unfair request. They accept it because they fear conflict, fear disapproval, fear being misunderstood. But he, the Machiavellian figure we are building, never lets such fragments accumulate. He knows that every act of tolerance is a brick pulled from the walls of his fortress. His refusals carry no anger. They are simple, calm. He says no as naturally as taking a breath. No explanations, no justification. His boundaries are clear precisely because they don't need to be stated. Interestingly, he does not set boundaries to control others. He sets them to control himself, to avoid being pulled into petty games, impulsive emotions, or unworthy relationships. His discipline is not outward-facing, it is inward. And that inward discipline gives his boundaries the solidity of stone. He does not engage in meaningless conversations. He does not chase shallow relationships. He does not allow anyone to enter his peace if they do not know how to value it. Every act of elimination is a clean stroke that sharpens the silhouette of his power. And when people realize he is not someone who tolerates carelessness or disrespect, they adjust themselves. Not because they fear his punishment, but because they fear losing the chance to remain within his orbit. The rarity of his attention makes others respect his boundaries as if they were natural laws. By preventing the world from invading his inner sanctuary, he preserves something far more valuable than external power: himself, intact, uncorroded, untouched by life's noise. Iron boundaries do not turn him into a stone wall. They turn him into a fortress that chooses who may enter, and anyone allowed inside understands they stand on ground that must never be taken lightly. Number 9. Strategic ruthlessness. In the world our character walks through, kindness is necessary to maintain influence, but ruthlessness, when used with precision, is what preserves order. Not the crude, chaotic cruelty born from rage. His ruthlessness is like the slice of a finely sharpened blade, clean, deliberate, and appearing only when absolutely needed. To him, ruthlessness is not an emotion. It is a decision. He understands that there are moments when kindness cannot resolve a problem, and softness only erodes boundaries. In such moments, he does not shout, does not rage, does not lash out. He simply withdraws something: a chance, a trust, an invisible protection that others assumed they were entitled to. That withdrawal causes more disruption than any threat. People expect ruthlessness to be loud. He makes it silent. Some have attempted to test his limits, assuming he would react immediately. But he doesn't. He watches. He waits. And when the moment finally arrives, usually when the other party least expects it, he makes a decision as subtle as dropping a stone into a lake. Small, yet enough to change the direction of the water. His ruthlessness has never been about causing pain, but about creating awareness. People do not fear that he will hurt them. They fear that he might erase a person, a plan, or an alliance that once felt secure, simply removing it from his orbit. A prolonged silence from him is more unsettling than 100 reprimands. What makes his ruthlessness so precise lies in this: he never uses it pointlessly against those weaker than him, never wastes it on petty emotions, and never lets it become a habit. He understands that reckless cruelty turns the powerful into the destroyer of their own foundation. So he allows ruthlessness to remain the final option, like a whip hanging on the wall, whose mere presence is enough for everyone to understand its purpose without ever being struck. Toward himself, he is even harsher. The ruthlessness he applies inward is what unsettles others most. He forgives himself for neither delay nor complacency, and he refuses to overlook even the slightest fracture in his inner discipline. Thus, when others witness how he treats himself, they understand he never expects from others what he cannot first demand of his own being. And so his ruthlessness becomes a warning that needs no sound. People adjust themselves, become cautious, restrain their impulses, not because they fear punishment, but because they fear being cast out of his light. Ruthlessness in his hands is not darkness. It is the final boundary where the unacceptable is extinguished before it becomes a threat. Number 10. The crown of impenetrability. All the structures our character is built, from the stillness of his mind, the mask of control, the weight of silence, the iron boundaries, to his strategic ruthlessness, are not meant to create a tyrant. They are meant to forge something deeper, rarer, and far more difficult to obtain: impenetrability. Impenetrability is not a state where no one dares touch him. It is a state where nothing can break him from within. In classic tales of power, the strong are often depicted with arrogance, roaring voices, or physical dominance. But he is different. His impenetrability is shaped in silence, like a statue standing in the heart of a storm, unmoved by any gust of wind. He does not swing a sword to prove himself, nor threaten to maintain his stance. His aura comes not from display, but from unwavering consistency in how he exists. This makes others see him as a rare pillar of stability in a world of turbulence, a point of gravity. Human beings, by instinct, are drawn to that stability, to the certainty they themselves can never sustain. He does not react to emotion. He does not sway under praise or criticism. He does not rush to change under the influence of the crowd. This lack of fluctuation turns him into a silent pillar in the eyes of others. When everything around them collapses into chaos, he remains still, steady, like his own shadow. And people turn to him not because he invites them, but because they believe standing near him keeps their own hearts from trembling. Impenetrability is not merely resisting the influence of others. It is refusing to let circumstances shape him. He enters chaos without being dragged into conflict. He walks through envy without absorbing it. He steps into schemes without being caught in their web. He remains a point of calm within the vortex, forcing the vortex to bend around him rather than the reverse. People look at him and feel that he cannot be broken. That feeling is stronger than any statement. It makes them believe that even if the world changes its colors, he will remain in his own shade. And that belief, though not an absolute truth, is the strongest armor any Machiavellian figure can wear. Ultimately, the crown of impenetrability is not something placed on the head. It is something others see in every step he takes, every glance he gives, every decision he makes. An invisible crown, yet heavier than any crown of metal. No one grants him this crown. No one can take it away. It is forged from the discipline, the silence, and the psychological architecture he patiently built over time. In this impenetrability, he has nothing left to prove. His existence is the declaration. And that is the most enduring power one can possess in a world woven from doubt and ambition. You have just walked through the principles that made Machiavelli a symbol of clarity, strategy, and inner strength. But remember this: knowledge is only the spark. You are the one who must turn it into a flame. A sharp aura is not born, it is forged through discipline, timely silence, and the ability to remain unbroken under the weight of life. The world will always test you. There will be times you're doubted, judged, pushed into situations where even a blink may cost you advantage. But if you master your mind, your emotions, and your presence, you will not merely survive. You will create influence. And if today's journey resonated with you, let it not end here. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lessons. The mental weapons Machiavelli still has to offer you. Knowledge is the beginning of power. Action is the beginning of true authority.